because it is healing. Because I guess before, the whole kind of psychology of it was, if I didn't talk about it, then I didn't have to accept that it was happening, because it wasn't always happening. So it was a lot easier. Yeah, it's better to talk about it, especially with friends as well and people who love you. I think it is a challenge. It's hard.
I didn't know you even had a condition.
Because I didn't tell people, because I didn't want anyone to either think of it as like, oh, he's got something, or kind of be hands-on with me, or kind of be like, because most people would just be like, you sure you should be drinking that? You should do that? Here you go. Are you going to be okay? Is the light skinner? Is it? And you're just like, let me live my life, man. I already feel like a freak when it happens. I don't need you to like watch me like a freak. So it was hard.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, Simsen Talk. Welcome back guys. I hope you're all doing well. As you can see, I have a guest in the studio, another guest. I'm absolutely loving this. Yes, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, my name is Michael Douglas, believe it or not. I know, it's a weird one, isn't it?
Michael Douglas, right here, right now. We've got the real one, folks. So guys, before I get into the interview with Michael, please don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to comment if you choose to. Okay? So Michael, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. Thanks again, Michael. Okay, please introduce yourself to us again.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Michael Dave Douglas. I was born in Newham, so I'm an East London boy, so I was born from here. And Michael Dave Douglas, as I said. As you can probably imagine, my acting name couldn't be just Michael Douglas, so it's Michael D. Douglas, and that is my official name. I've been acting for, I would say, I graduated in 2012 from De Montfort University, and then after that, for 2 years, I was dancing in a Michael Jackson show. And then while I was doing that, I was trying to get myself, because I was always trying to get myself into acting. That was a dream. So I kind of did that because it was kind of, I dance, but it was also a panic from after uni. Everyone was like, it's really going to be really hard to find a job. It's really going to be hard to do something in your industry. So the moment this Michael Jackson job came up and I danced, I was like, I have to take a job. So I took the job, and it was very rewarding because I got to work with the manager very closely, which was great because he kind of taught me about the industry before I got to dip my toe into it. And I was doing bar work and I was doing extra work at the same time. So when I wasn't dancing on stage, I was serving drinks. And if I wasn't doing that, I was in the background of films. And a lot of people told me you shouldn't be in the background of films if you want to be taken seriously. But I say to that, and from my experience, is it was the best work experience I've ever had in my life. If you want to be an actor, or if you want to do any job, work experience is always the best thing for it. And my first experience on set was a week next to Jimon Honso on Tarzan, and him, who has been in Blood Diamond, who's been in all of these films, famous guy. I am seeing a famous actor who is one of the main parts, how he talks to the director, how he analyzes the set, what he does when he comes off set, what he understands from the cameraman, all of the relationships. Basically, whatever I wanted to do with my life, I got to see in front of me for a week. And during that week, Samuel Jackson was there for 2 days because he had his scenes as well. So I got to see that, and Christopher Waltz. So I'm getting to see all these famous celebrities do the job that I want to do in front of me. So I thought it was great. So I did that for 2 years, and I did a few films. And then I started to do short films and commercials when I got my own agent, and working towards more feature films now and stuff. And that's basically my career. It's been wonderful.
Lovely. And I'm going to insert some of your adverts as well.
Yes, I've been doing a lot of commercials lately. Yeah. That's been fun. It's weird because you get different chapters. I think one of the chapters of my life at one point was dying. I died once, and I must have put it in my show reel, and everyone was like, yeah, you die really well, so we're going to write this script. And I was just dying everywhere. But now I've come into the chapter of commercial where I am dad.
Yeah.
And I have thousands of kids.
How have you got into that?
I love it so much. I mean, you already know I love children, and the one thing that's really fun and great about it is all my children that I have, all my set children, I keep in touch with them on Instagram. So I'm kind of like their fake dad, just cheering them on whenever they get other adverts or they get other things. And a lot of them have been really successful and really good. Yeah, and I'm proud of them. I'm really very, very proud of them. And I think you do get, because as soon as you take on the role of the father, you do get that kind of like, you see them differently. They're not just your acting partner. They are someone you want to look after.
Yeah.
Because also I think the two things, it's quite meta, because the two things go in your mind. Your character is told to look after your child. But then you knowing the industry and you knowing how hard it is to navigate yourself, you go, wow, this kid is going into all of that. If I was that age when I started, what should I have? What should I know? You know, what would be good for me? So you kind of got caring on both sides, because you care as an actor, but you also care because you're playing their dad. So it's, yeah, you get to play with that, and I like it. I love children, and it's always been fun to play the dad. And I do think of my father as well, so it's kind of nice to kind of do like an ode to my dad, because I always try and like play slightly off of him, and yeah.
Oh, lovely. Thanks for sharing, Michael. Okay, so Michael, next question is, what is your health condition?
Yes, so I have a condition called Functional Neurological Disorder. I got diagnosed, well, the first time it happened to me was when I was, I think 13. I remember when I was very, very young, a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Kalai, I was hanging out with his little brother, and it was the summertime. And I remember I had like a really bad headache, and it felt like the frontal lobe here just was in a lot of pain. Like it felt like someone was almost pressing down like this with their thumb. And it got to a point where the pain felt so bad that it felt like a thumb kind of cracked through my head here. And once that happened, I just remember being like my whole body shutting down, and I just fell on the floor and I collapsed. And then I was picked up by Kalai's dad, and I remember they was ringing the hospital, rubbing my feet to try and get me around. And I didn't know what it was at the time. And then the next time I remember it happening at church ages ago, and it was when I was young. And this was one of the first times that I got to experience all of the stages of it, because I didn't know what was happening. So I remember I was upstairs, my head really hurt. Then I started to, as soon as my head started to really, really hurt, my chest started to hurt and I couldn't breathe, and I was hyperventilating. While that was happening, I was screaming and holding myself and just kind of trying to get by. And then all I remember is I closed my eyes, and then I had my eyes open, and I was being taken down on a stretcher down the stairs out of the church. Then I closed my eyes again, and then I remember waking up in the van, and then I closed my eyes again, and I remember I was in the hospital. I don't remember any of those periods between, and everyone was saying to me who was there at the church, and saying that they were saying I was kicking and screaming. They said I was convulsing. They said that my body would be moving and shaking, and then it just stopped. And that was the times where my eyes were just closing and going in and out. So I was going in and out of consciousness, and I didn't know that this was a process. So all of these things were happening to me, and every single time I went into the hospital, the worst part was, as you can imagine, is this all happens, get into the hospital, sit in the bed in the waiting area, wherever I need. After about 2 or 3 hours, it stops. And once it stops, I don't look like I'm in any danger, and they'll just discharge me. And I always got diagnosed as migraines. First of all, it was migraines. Then it became something to do with my breathing, because as I said, my chest started to hurt, so they thought something was wrong with my sinuses. And then it only eventually, the worst time I had it was the time where they finally diagnosed it and they knew what it was, because it's new. Functional neurological disorder is very new. Not a lot of people know about it. The cases are still very rare. If you do end up going on YouTube, there is a case where a woman, she's talking about it. Now, it's weird because the stages and the way that it affects you can be different for different people. The famous one that I know, she had it for 6 months, and I almost don't know what's worse out of mine or hers, because I have moments where I don't know whenever it happens, but it's triggered to my anxiety. So I'll get anxious, I might hyperventilate, and then it will go off and it will happen. Once this goes off, as I said, level 1 could be me going in and out of consciousness. Level 2, me convulsing. I'd say level 1 is me headache. Level 2 is me screaming and being in pain. Level 3 is me collapsing. Level 4 is me going in and out of consciousness. Level 5 is me retching or throwing up or bleeding from my ears, which has happened.
What?
And number 6 is the worst one. That's the one where I stopped breathing. Yeah, that's only happened twice. Yeah.
Sorry, Michael. The way you said it only happened twice.
It's because I think I can only say that now in the magnitude of it all, because I think at the time it was like, oh my gosh, like it really, I cannot stress you enough. It very much messed me up because I didn't know that happened until the day later. So you can imagine I came into work, because it happened at work. Came into work, and the next day the paramedics were like, we was really worried about you because like we lost you for a second. And I was like, what do you mean? And remember, when I go in and out of consciousness, I don't know that it's happening. So I knew that I went in and out of consciousness, but I didn't know that they had to get the defibrillator because they were, hand on my heart, wasn't no beating at all. They put their hand to my mouth. There was no air coming through, flowing, coming out my nose or anything like that. Like they put a light on my eye. They opened my eye and put a light on my eye, and it just wouldn't react. And you know, it usually reacts if there's a light. So you were gone. So they had to get the defibrillator and get me back. And then I came around and was like screaming in pain again. But they was like, you were still, and it was scary. And it's happened 2 times. And it was scary because honestly, I got insomnia happened after that because I was scared to fall asleep. I was really scared because in my head it was one time you closed your eyes and you nearly never woke up again. So I couldn't sleep. It would get to about 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'd make this joke. Everyone would like message me in the morning or message me at like, if someone was up at that time, they'd be like, why are you up? I'd always just say, I'm Batman, because it was easier to say that joke instead of explaining that I'm traumatized by this time that happened. That if I close my eyes, I'm scared I'm never going to wake up again. I was very, very scared. As you can imagine with my career, it's hard because when I was dancing, as I said to you before, it happened at work. So this was Secret Cinema. I was doing a theatre event, and it's an immersive theatre event. So you get a whole venue and you play characters, and I'm one of the characters that you'll meet in the world of this. And because it happened there, it was public because you're in a building where you could hear someone screaming, and I'm convulsing and screaming on the floor, and so many people from the public is just kind of going around. So I remember they said that they had to put a screen up, and it happened on the floor because I think what happened was during the time, so I've got better at it now, so I can recognize the triggers. Like if it was to happen now, I'd feel it like that, and my head would be like that, and I'd just be like, let me get a dark room and let me just control my breathing. Because if I hyperventilate, then we're going straight into the whole thing. So I was at work, put on the radio, and I remember this, and I called and I said, I'm in my position. I was like, I just need to, and I was doing this, and I was like, I just need to sit down, guys, because I can't be standing up. And my manager, who already knows about this situation, was like, yeah, cool, we'll just get you to sit down. So then as I was trying to get to a place to sit down, it wasn't working. So I was like, can you just call someone to come up? So they called the paramedics to come up, and as they put me in a wheelchair to take me down, I fell out of the wheelchair and started convulsing, and that's when I hit the floor, and that's when that happened. And that wasn't the worst. That was the worst time because that was the time I stopped breathing. But the time before that was bad. Was when I was at the Royal Opera House, and that was years ago. Because that was bad because from what I've been told, I was talking, and then I just went back.
Stop.
I was talking to everyone.
Did you not feel it coming up?
It literally. I only felt it coming up halfway through my sentence. So it's almost like I was talking normally, and then I was like. Yeah, because then I paused and then kept on talking, and then and everyone was so scared because I landed straight on my head.
Oh my word.
So that was the first thing everyone was worried about, and I think that was the time where they were just worried about me bleeding from the ears and everything because like I just landed on my head. So it was yeah, it's tough. It's scary. I can't lie.
Sorry. I was meant to ask you a question, but I was just so.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, let's go back a bit. When were you diagnosed?
Yes, so I was diagnosed after that time where I was in hospital and I couldn't breathe. That was the time where they diagnosed me because they figured it out. I'm trying to remember. So I think it might have been, no, that was just the worst time. I think the time where I fell back on my head, that was the time they diagnosed me because that was a time where something very strange happened, which links to what I was saying about the other woman who I was saying who also went for it. What happened was I don't know if it's the way it hit my head or from what I've been told, it's functional neurological disorder. It can happen. I forgot, the only way to say it is I forgot how to walk. That's the only way I can explain it. I forgot how to use the muscles. I forgot where to engage, to put your leg down, and where to, I didn't know how to walk. It was absolutely from my mind. I didn't know what you're supposed to do. I've never thought about walking.
Was that the same time you would hit your head?
That was the time I hit my head,
Right,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I woke up and I came back from the hospital. Well, I woke up from the hospital and I couldn't, they were like, move your legs. And they did the whole test where they squeeze your legs or try and hold it down and say push against it. Nothing. Tried to stand up, couldn't stand up. So then I had physio for 2 days, where they were just getting me to just basically remember the muscle and stuff. And I started walking after 2 days and running after the third, but it was scary. There's a video and I remember posting it somewhere, and I made the video because I wanted to remind myself of it. And I was walking for the first time and my feet, I mean, I'm wearing like moon boots because I'm wearing Air Jordans, but like all you just hear is, because I don't know, I didn't know how to. And as I was saying to that woman who had hers, like I said, mine comes at random bursts. She had 6 months of non-verbal, convulsing and seizure, couldn't walk, 6 months. That was just it. And once the 6 months ended, she got it all back and everything, but because she had to have therapy during the whole time. But just imagine, one day, absolutely coercive, next day, boom. And she stayed in that for 6 months. Whereas my one, I stay in it for a few hours and then it goes, and it's unpredictable. And that's why I say I don't know which one's worse, because I don't know if I'd want to, I think it's grass is greener on the other side, because I get mine sporadic and it ruins everything for me. I'd rather just get 6 months and get it over done with. But I bet she's probably thinking the same thing, where she's like, this is hard to do every day. I'd rather just get like a rest or something.
How has this impacted your mental health?
Yes. So my mental health, it's during the times it happens, after the aftermath of an episode is my worst. That's where I'm at my lowest. I'm at my lowest because, one, I'm scared. It doesn't happen all the time. So because it doesn't happen all the time, once it's happened and then you kind of get away from it, you almost feel like you're in a good space. So when it does happen, it almost feels like the harbinger of a bad time. It feels like it's the beginning of a bad space. So you're always like, if it's happened now, I don't want the next one to happen, because sometimes they usually happen around the same time. My trigger is anxiety, and I can get quite anxious about things, especially when I don't have all of the components together, or I'm not confident about something. I can get pretty anxious about it. Or if communication's not open with me, if I don't fully know what's happening or going on, it makes me anxious, or stuff that I can't control. So it can be a downside. I think the other downside for me is a lot of people have said things to me, like I've been seen as people who compliment me and say, you know, you're always a happy, strong looking character, looking strong. And a lot of the things that I've heard people say to me when they've seen me on the floor convulsing and stuff like that, it's just like, you're such a big, strong guy that it's so hard to see you like that. And I get what they're saying. It's not positive, because it just like, it's not, it doesn't help me. It doesn't make me feel any bigger. Doesn't make me feel stronger. And then the way that they react towards me of, are you sure you should be drinking that? Maybe we should do this. We should do this. Have you ever tried juicing? Have you? And then people will diagnose you. You find with a situation like this it's really hard, because I'm loved. I'm very loved. But the way that people love you, they think they're doing the best for you, and you almost can't complain, because I can't complain and be like, my biggest problem is everyone cares about me. That's not the situation. The situation is when the care goes above the person's development. People are now telling me that they know what's best for me, even though they don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. So they'll be like, oh, I figured it out. So you've got epilepsy, you need to do this. Michael, if you're not doing this, then don't tell me about this. And they'll really kind of get to you. And I'm like, your fears and love and everything, I understand that. And I really thank you for that. But you can't get in the way of my life for that. And a lot of times, that's one of the things that does affect my mental health.
Michael, do you find this is mainly family members, or could it be a mixture of friends?
Mixture of friends. I mean, family members is weird, because with family members, my relationship with that and family members is, I don't think a lot of my family know the extent of it, because I feel like when it comes to my F&D, the people who are closest to me, even at work, sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I don't even disclose it at some workplaces. I don't disclose it until something happens, because I almost feel like I don't need to say I don't need to talk about it or say that it is in danger unless it does happen, which sometimes can be a back and forth, because obviously when it does happen, some people want to know what to do, but also sometimes when I talk about it and they don't experience it or they don't know what's happening, it almost just feels like they're just like, okay, so now we just have to be on edge. Michael, you can't go here, you can't do this, we're just going to make sure it doesn't happen. I'm like, you're over preparing for something that may or may not happen, so you don't know. Okay. And you over preparing for it, that's the worst thing about it. Is my trigger's anxiety. You over preparing for it is working my anxiety. Every day I'm walking in and I'm having to think what you're thinking and trying to be like, okay, so don't sweat in front of the person. Don't go for toilet breaks too much. Don't do this, don't do that, because they're going to be concerned and it's going to be a whole thing, so you can't, and that's annoying. So yeah, I'd say all in all, my mental health, it never feels like it is just stays in a good space because of it, and that's kind of hard, because no matter where you feel like you're going, like I've achieved a lot in my life, and whenever I'm in those achievement moments, it's, if that comes up, it can really damage it. And I think of, it's weird, the things that give me strength and make me think of things is, I remember watching, so funny, the TLC movie, and I think it's T-Boz, I think she had sickle cell.
Oh, yeah.
I think she did, yeah. And there was a concert where it was the first time, I think, in the film where they were showing where introducing this thing of her character, and they were backstage, they were getting ready to go on stage, and she had to have a mask to breathe through. And seeing that and knowing that I love TLC and I didn't know that, and I didn't know all about that, really kind of helped me whenever I'm working and whenever I'm trying to get it together and stuff. I do sometimes feel like this FND, I can't tell a lie, I do feel like it would affect my relationships, and has, and I do feel like it would affect my job. But seeing her be able to do that kind of revives me and just goes, okay, that feeling's always going to be there, Michael. Just get it together and let's make it through this work day. Let's make it work. And I'm really, really happy that Secret Cinema, I had one of the best managers in the world, Tori Galliano, and she and I worked together because I was open with her about it. And she was like, the days that you're feeling too much, here's the roles that you can do, that you can, let's figure it out. Let's figure it out so you want to be here. Let's get you here, and let's do it in the safest way that it's not jeopardizing anyone, because I like you as well. And having that really just released me, because in other workplaces, the moment they saw that, they was like, don't come in. We like, please just don't come in. Take a year off, take a week off, take as long as you can off. Like, don't come in. It's just too much. We were so scared. Like Royal Opera House. In some ways, it was bad.
Not even checking how you're doing.
No.
They're just
they've decided
their own.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was completely frightening to see you in that state, but
of course,
it doesn't help. Also looking at their own emotions to it, and like,
and that's what I find with friends. It can be the same. Where so the last time it happened, the best example. The last time it happened, it was quite interesting because it was very kind of timely. I was in Lisbon with a few of my friends, and we were having one of those nights where, as many people do when you go on holiday, there was a few drinks and it was really late, and it gets to that lull in the evening where everyone just decides to be vulnerable and open up for no reason. It's just what happens, isn't it? Like, the drinks are flowing, it gets to a slower song, and then someone's just like, it's really nice being outside because I found it really hard, and like, yeah, so have I. And then suddenly we're all vibes in.
Sorry, Michael.
It was one of them. So it gets to one of them, and I decide to open up about the FND. And I'm with a group of friends who've known me for years, but they haven't known the extent, and I'm telling them about it. And I said to them, just if this happens, number one, I'm not dying. If you see me convulsing on the floor, just know I'm not dying. I can't breathe. I may need help. You might need to put me in a recovery position. I need water. I need to calm down. I just need to calm down my breathing. That's the main thing. I will have pain in my chest. I don't really know what to say about that. I don't really know where that's going to go. I might have pain all over my body. I know it's going to be in my forehead, but I just need to breathe. Just help me breathe. Just help me calm down, and also help me focus that I'm there, because as I go in and out of consciousness, I'm not very cohesive of where I am anymore, and it's a bit scary. So just keep on saying your name, say I'm here wherever I am, and just kind of ground me in reality, because everything's kind of just panic mode. So yeah, we talked about that. I was like, da da da. 2 days later, we get to the airport. And I don't have OCD, but I'm gonna get. This is another talk as well, but I'm gonna get that I've done a test for ADHD, and I've never ever got 100%. Like I've got 100% on this test. Like it's very clear to me, and it's a new development for me to understand. But it's weird. The ADHD, understanding that I may have ADHD wasn't a condemning thing. It was more of an understanding thing, because understanding that made me understand so much more about myself, and it actually gave me freedom. It was super liberating because I am different to everyone else. I'm very different.
Just to confirm, you got confirmed as ADHD.
So I have to go to the doctors to get it confirmed. But I did the like brief test where they say if you have any suspicion or anything like that, do that kind of test. So I did that, and I definitely feel like I've got it. And it just makes sense. It makes sense of even relationships or friendships. The way I talk to people. I mean, people who are watching this now, the way that I've been speaking, when you see it, people be like this. I'm sure this guy's got.
I'll just go. I'm gonna go, guys. Where's my keys? Okay.
I'm sure.
Look up.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna go.
I'm sure when you're watching this, you're like, he's changed the subject about 7 times. This man has ADHD. Yes, it's true.
The scary thing is, Michael, I can keep up. I don't know what that says about me.
But it was super liberating because it was like, sometimes even with my friends, like the other day, I did something. It was the other day.
You got it.
My friend left the room.
Yeah.
He left the room, and then he was like, "Okay, you come in," and I was gonna leave, and then they were playing Stevie Wonder, "Don't You Worry About a Thing." So I was singing along to it, and I was like, "Come in a bit," and I was singing along to it, and then I went up to him and I was like, "Bro, man, just give me a hug, man. Just love you, man." And then he was like, "What's this about?" And I was like, so I was listening to Stevie Wonder, "Don't You Worry About a Thing," and it put me in a really happy space, and I just thought about all the people that I love around. So I just came in here to argue, and he was like, "That's so weird, but I respect that." And that is my mind, and I'm now able, that's the liberating feeling, because back in the day, I would just do that and then just be like, well, this is uncomfortable and I don't know what to say because I just hugged you for no reason. You don't know why I did that, and I'll just walk off. But now I know that I can explain to people that my brain does work at millions of miles per hour, and based on things, if I say it to them, they can follow it, and when they do follow it, they kind of understand me a bit more. And it is nice when my friends sometimes will go, if someone else did this, I'd think this, but because it's you and I now know you, I understand what it is, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing for me.
Did you finish what you were saying about the airport?
No, I didn't. Definitely didn't. So glad you brought me back. Yeah. Thank God. No.
Sorry, Michael.
Definitely didn't.
I
really hope you keep that.
I'm so sorry, Michael. For a second, I was like,
guys,
have I missed it?
ADHD.
Okay.
So the airport. So that's what I mean. If they say no, I will tell them they're lying.
If they come back and say you have ADHD,
I know. I'm gonna just be like, you're lying. It's I'm the poster boy for it, guys. Like, you can't even.
Funny. I've known you so long, and I don't know why I never thought of it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, sorry.
It's true.
Go back.
Sorry.
The airport.
So the airport.
I have to call you back for
I know.
So yeah, tell us about being an adult with ADHD.
It's true. I'll do it. So with the FND at the airport. So we got to the airport, as I was saying. That's why I went on a tangent, because I was explaining that I don't like being late. I like things being organised.
You said that you got here about half hour early, didn't you?
We got there like 3 hours early, and the line was outside of the door. Luton Airport, sorry, it's just as bad as Luton Airport. Lisbon Airport is not good. I didn't know that. I didn't Google before, but afterwards I found out. So the line is all the way out the door. All my friends are like, I don't have to check in anything. I was like, yeah, do you know why you don't have to check in anything? Because you guys all said, who's bringing baggage, so I can put my stuff in it? Me. So I was the only person checking in something. So while they walked through, I had to wait in this line for 2 hours. I'm getting frustrated because I can see that even though we're all going to be late, in my head, I'm like, the flight will go. Like it won't. So we got problems. So I'm getting a little bit stressed. It's hot. I'm carrying a few bags. I'm just trying to figure out everything. And I'm also getting a text because I'm trying to figure out my job. I'm working when I get back, trying to figure out my timetable. So there's a lot of things going on in my head. And as this is happening, it's working me up, and I'm getting a little bit kind of claustrophobic and can't really, I just feel like I'm stuck in this airport and I don't feel like I can do much. And all of this action that I'm doing is basically how I physically feel. So I'm feeling like this a lot. And it starts to happen like that, and I start to do that, and one of my friends notices that I'm doing that a lot. And unfortunately, when we get to the bit where you're in the lounge, and just as you give your passport to the steward just before you walk down the long corridor.
Yeah.
Now obviously this is Lisbon, so it's not the long corridor, it's the cheaper one. So it's as soon as you give the thing, you go out the door and then you're on the runway, and then you're walking down there. So as I got to the runway to walk, that's when I collapsed.
On the
concrete. So I'm there convulsing, and the worst part is where we are one of the leads. So we're one of the first people in line. So unfortunately, every single person who got on that flight had to step over my body while I was convulsing over the floor to get onto the plane. Every single one of them saw me. Some of them stopped to try and help. My friends were having to explain. The worst part that I felt was one of my friends, she and her boyfriend were there on holiday, but they weren't with us as a group, so they saw us there. So that happened then. So all my friends who knew, because we had to talk before, they knew, and they got into action, started to look after me and everything. The worst part was once I came around, and I came around pretty quick. Well, I came around, but I wasn't fully back to health. I was just a bit really dizzy, and I came around. It was once everyone kind of got on, and I was like, I wanted to get on, and one of the airport staff said they can't do that because of health reasons, and I was like, I'm okay, and I don't have money. Like, you're not going to be paying for another flight. I don't have money to get a hotel. Like, you need to get me on that flight. He was like, I'm sorry, you've like traumatized all of the guests.
Are you okay?
No, nothing about me. Nothing about me. Didn't even. I think there was a doctor there, but it was one of the people who was flying. It wasn't like the airport doctor or anything like that. And they didn't look after me. And then I didn't have the money, so my friends all got their money together, got us all a room. We stayed the night, and then we all paid for the next hotel. And some of them, because we couldn't all pay for flights, some of them had to take like trains back to London and stuff. Like, it ruined everything. And these are the kind of things that it's hard for me to not blame my FND or be upset with it, because then it affects everyone around. Everyone was super nice and super loving, and luckily I have that kind of love and support, and like, I'm very thankful, and I'll never forget that. But it is the hard part where you go, this thing that I've had to deal with on my own, it's now affecting other people, and it shouldn't be their stress. And when it comes to, when you say mental health, and when it comes to things like future things like relationships and things like that, I get bogged down when I collapse and I don't know if I died or not, and I don't know what this means, and I have all these questions in my head. But when you're sharing your life with someone, you can't protect them from that, and you want to protect yourself from it, so automatically you want to protect them from that. You can't have this ugly side. I don't want you to stress for that. I love you. I think you're beautiful. I want you to only enjoy the beautiful sides of me.
Okay, so you've got there before my next question. So how it's impacted relationships?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because also, I mean, I was in a relationship where one time they accused me of lying, and it stung, because I promised myself that I would never ever convulse in front of them ever again after that one time.
Oh, so it happened?
It happened, and it happened 3 times, and I think by the third time, there was something that happened where we was having an argument or discussing something, and they accused me of just conveniently, because it was always when I was stressed, and I was like, because it triggers anxiety, but they would always think that it was almost like an excuse to get out of whatever it was. So if something's really stressed, and I was just like, I just need to go to hospital, forget all of this. Like, it was a lazy kind of thing. Really? So yeah, I just, from then on, it was like, right, I will never communicate to you about this, and I never did. And we ended up breaking up. The thing that I would say guys do a lot of is they have strikes. Emotionally, they have strikes. Most guys have strikes. I would say most guys have a good 2, 3. Some guys a lot more, but emotional strikes. I remember I was change the subject again. I was dating someone, and they said something that hurt my feelings very deeply one time, and then the second time, and I already knew from the second time this relationship was done. And I may have not realized that I made up that decision in my head, but I already realized that I can't talk to you openly because you've already labeled me this or labeled me that. Relationships, one thing that someone would say to me is, if someone said to me when I was dating them, you're too sensitive. What was funny about that is I would be like, you do realize that I'm sensitive with you. I cannot be sensitive outside of you. I can't afford to be sensitive outside anywhere else, because everywhere else, everyone's looking at me in a different way. This one place where I'm supposed to be vulnerable is this relationship. So when I'm telling you this hurts my feelings, if it was anyone else, I wouldn't care. I would just let it go. I wouldn't care. But I'm sensitive with you because you're supposed to be my safe space. So I think, yeah, as a man, I think that's kind of one of the things that does trigger you. Once you've kind of gone, okay, so this is supposed to be the safe space, right? This is what this relationship is. Okay, so it's a safe space. That's what you want. That's what you want to trust. Okay, cool. And then you enter the safe space, and then you're almost told to man up, or do this more, or be this more, or you know, and those things is just over. So when it came to the FND, it's a sore subject. So anyone, you know, accuses me of faking it and whatnot. And I guess the hardest part about the faking it, the thing that really hits me hard is because, as I said to you before, I'm convulsing and screaming on the floor. The moment that's done and you check me and you check my vitals, all my vitals are fine. But it's because it's a psychological, functional neurological disorder, it's not something that's going to show up. They did CRB checks, blood checks, all these checks to try and figure out something, nothing. The only thing you would find is during the time where I'm hyperventilating, if there was a CRB thing on my chest, and during the time that I said, as I said to you when I died, I wasn't breathing for a while, they had to monitor on me, flatlined. So something physically was happening, but they could never explain it because at the time, flatlined, but they could never. So that's the hardest part, because anyone could be like, well, you are faking it because nothing comes up. And I was like, that's kind of the problem with functional neurological disorder.
Have you always had support from like medical staff, whether it's been your GP? Is it something, you know?
Yes and no, because I remember the beginning was, do you want to take pills for this? And the pills was kind of a weird one, because they even said, if you want to take pills for it, it's a bit weird because you're not having it every day. So if you was like the other woman, if she had it for 60 months, she would have been on medication.
Yeah.
I wasn't having it all the time. So the medication, it wouldn't have made sense. So because it's a disorder that's a neurological disorder, I was having therapy. I was already in therapy from when I was a child. My mum and dad got divorced when I was very young. So my mum put me and my sister in therapy. And it's, I would say the upsides, which is also can kind of look like the downside, is having a young person have a look at things and analyze problems in a therapeutic way instantly makes them an outsider. Instantly. I didn't deal with things like a 7-year-old would deal with things. I would deal with things like a 7-year-old analyzing what a 7-year-old would do and how to do it. So I was always on the outside of my friends. I was always like, but how does that make you feel? And they're like, I don't care. I want to play. I want to play with bubbles. Why are you asking me how do I feel? Like, and that was always me.
You were very mature for your age.
As you remember. Because I was always asking why. And I'd find it very upsetting when someone wouldn't give me an answer. I'd just be like, yeah, but why? Because that's how it is. Yeah, but why does that have to be how it is? How are you going to explain to me a rule? I used to never like rules that encompass everyone. So if someone says that's just how it is, that could never be true. We live in a world of unique people. There is no way you can tell me that this is just how it is and everyone's happy with that. No. Yeah. So I wasn't that guy.
What's your support network?
Ooh. Well, I would say, funny enough, well, give up for my two best friends, Stephanie and Alex. Stephanie Baston, Alex Ovioe. They have been my support network. They've probably seen me the most in hospital when I've had my FND. Stephanie was there when I couldn't walk. I think Alex was there. They both were there on that day. That day when I was, because I think my parents were there and they both came in. Alex and Stephanie. And they've just been my support network because I think the one thing that makes them the elite, and the reason why I could always name them my best friend and I always say they're elite, is it always feels like their care for me always feels tailored to me. I feel like they know me. When they are giving me advice, it's because they know me. When they are doing something for me, it's because they know that that's what I need. a lot of times people will try and help me and it feels a bit kind of generalized. It's almost like someone going, oh, it's Michael's birthday, let me buy him a clapperboard because that's to do with acting. Do I need a clapperboard? Am I a director? Do you know anything about me? Or are you just buying word association with acting stuff? Let's get him a poster of Daniel Kaluuya because I guess he acts. Do you even know if it's never that, you know? Whereas Stephanie will buy me the screwdriver. The screwdriver for what? The screwdriver for the brand new bed that Alex just bought me. They're both thinking. There's need for everything that's happening, you know? So yeah, they're my support network and they're very good at kind of helping me do that. And what I love about them more than anything is, especially Alex is very good at identifying things that I might miss. So he usually says that the times where I am down the worst is when I'm not working and right after an F&D situation. And him saying that to me and making me be aware of that kind of helps me go, right, I can prepare for when that happens, because yes, that is when I mentally get the worst. So what do I have to do to make sure that happens? Nowadays with the non-working thing, I've got a lot of friends that are self-employed, and when they're not working, I'm not working, we get to meet up and we get to talk about work or just enjoy life and just remind each other that you have been working for a really long time. Enjoy the rest, Michael. And that's important because my headspace is not in the right place. And with the F&D, it was just more of being more comfortable talking about it to people. And like I said in the Lisbon thing, as much as it felt like such a panic on my side, everyone was so happy that I had to talk with them before because they knew what to do. They were so happy because they were like, honestly, it did look like you was going to die. Honestly, I thought my friend was dying. But because you said all the things and I just trusted what you said, it was way more prepared and we could get you on your way and we could do stuff and kind of help you.
And you can see the difference where you've got the stranger, you know, whether it was the flight attendant or when they saw you, it was really extreme. It was. And they weren't willing to take that risk. Yeah,
they said to me that, I think Kieran and Sarah, they said to me that they had to stop someone because I think one of the doctors was trying to kind of like usher me into recovery position, but because the way I was convulsing and the way I was moving and stuff, it was like, just don't touch him. Like he doesn't need, like you can't touch him right now because he's not moving. And they were trying to turn me onto my side and stuff. And I was like, give him a second, because I think at one point I was screaming in pain. The hardest part, as I said, and going back to your mental health question, is the hardest part is absolutely not being in control and not knowing.
Sorry if you've covered this already. When you're screaming in pain, are you conscious then? Are you aware I'm here, or you almost not?
From what I remember, it's almost like a feeling of I can feel my body. I can feel my body like I can feel it now, and I'm conscious of everything, conscious of my fingers, conscious of my whole body being there. But the only thing that kind of takes kind of precedent over everything is the pain in my chest, because it feels like someone's squeezing my chest like this. It feels like someone's crushing my rib cage, and the pain here. So once these two things kind of, you know, they always ask you, is out of 10, rate it.
Yeah.
It will start off where I'm at. It'll be a 7 on both, and then it will just skyrocket into 10. And because it's two different places, it's almost like a numbness. I would probably describe it, if you've ever had a brain freeze where it's just uncontrollable, like it's like, oh man, I can't do anything about it, and I can't breathe. I need it to stop. I can't. That's what it feels. And for me, it just goes into that, to the point where you stop being conscious, and I can feel it only for a little bit until I'm screaming, and then I'm out. Because from what everyone's described to me is, it's a lot of screaming, a lot of convulsing, and then my body will just drop flat, and that's when they don't know. And then it will be a few seconds, and then I'll come around and be like, and everyone doesn't know what's happened, and I don't know what's happened because I don't feel that bit. All I feel is my eyes were closed, and now my eyes are open, and I see something completely different from what I was seeing before. And the opera house one, when I fell on my back, I guess that was one of the scariest ones for the eyes opening and closed bit, because I was looking at the bar, and then now I'm looking at the ceiling of the building, and it was a bit like, how did I even get here? And that kind of triggers into the anxiety, because your head is then going, how did I get here? What's this pain in my chest?
Cycle, isn't it?
And then you don't know what to do.
Oh, wow. What would you like others to know?
So what I would like others to know is, I think, I okay. So first things first. I think that what I want others to know is, black men aren't impossible. You know, like we, like, let's just put that one out there. Yeah, real to real. There is a stereotype that a lot of people have for black men. There is a stereotype that a lot of black men have for black men. There's a lot of stereotypes that we have for ourselves. And it's almost this robot. We can't look weak. You have to understand, we come from a race of people that were enslaved. We're not allowed to look weak. Men in general always put up on the pedestal, provider, watcher, all of these things. I was watching a show recently. I'm not going to get off tangent. I swear this is connected. I was watching a show recently, and it was about infidelity. Infidelity? No, is infidelity the right word? It was about sperm. So it was about having kids, and they basically got 3 different guys. One was gay, one was Melvin O'Doom, and one was married. I didn't really know how to separate Melvin O'Doom, so I just had to say his name. But all 3 of them. And they were checking their sperm count. And what was interesting was the married guy already had a kid. Melvin and the other guy didn't have a child yet. And he was trying for a child. And Melvin was not. It was Ollie. There you go. It's Ollie from Made in Chelsea. So he and his partner were trying for a child, and Melvin was 40 something and is getting on, and his bum wants a child and whatnot. And the other guy, I can't remember his name, but he had a child already. They went and checked their sperm. The guy who got married and had a kid had the worst sperm count. Like, it was bad. It wasn't good in compared to all of them. And he already had a kid. So hearing that news, he felt a type of way, but he felt like he couldn't feel a type of way because I already had a kid. Why shouldn't I feel a type of way? The reason why I say all of that is to encompass and say that it's not just the sensitive men or the oversensitive men or the soft men that feel different types of way. I can't help FND. Like, if I was a gangster, if I was the epitome of, if I was basically a bullet, if I was Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'd still have something that would make me convulse and make me fall on my knees and cry and look very, very weak. And that's nothing I can help. There's nothing I can do about it. So I think the first thing is to just know that even black men are humans, and you have to put us in the same category. You cut us, we still bleed. We don't bleed differently to you. We still bleed. You hear a song, it makes you sad. We can hear a song, it makes us feel sad. It's hard for us to be able to say stuff and hard for us to be able to do stuff because of not only the stereotype that's put on us, but the stereotype we have of ourselves. But number one, there is layers, and you have to really, really get to know your people, because the moment you put someone in a category of black man and you go, right, he's going to be like this and this and that, you've missed half of what he is. Learn who he is. I'm not a monolith. I've got so many things about me, and if it's easy for you to call me sensitive, then it's easy for you to call me sensitive. But I think I'm just a human being. I don't think I'm any more sensitive than anyone else needs to be. I'm just a human being, and things happen. So I'd say that's number one. Number two is, I think that if you was to help someone who was F&D, or what would I want for people to know about me with F&D? I'd want people to know that it's hard for me. I'd want people to know that it's not my favorite thing about myself. Like, hi, I'm Michael Douglas and I collapse sometimes and almost die. Like, it's not the best thing in the world, but I'm taking steps on my journey. And I think that is important to say, because when you're aiding someone, you have to understand that they have their own fears, they have their own things that they're going through, and projecting is the easiest mistake to make, and it's the most painful thing in the world. You want me to stay inside because you're scared that something could happen to me. What do you think I feel about myself? How do you think that you echoing the horrible thoughts that I have of myself and scary thoughts that I have of myself about this, you saying them out loud to me and then restricting my movement, it doesn't help. You've got to come on board with me about the plan of how I'm going to deal with this. You can't make a plan for me. That doesn't help. Don't make a plan for me. Oh, you're working too much. You're doing this, you're doing that. Every time that this happened when I was during work and a friend said to me, you're working too much, I used to flat out say to them, send me some money. And they'd be like, what? And I was like, send me money, then I won't work.
I love that.
Send me the money. You're not going to send me the money? I'm going to go back to work then. Yeah, but what's going to happen to you? You have to look after yourself, Michael. I'm trying to. But guess what? You telling me to just stop my life? It doesn't work, because as I said, anxiety is my trigger. I'm just going to be lying in bed anxious about the money I don't have and about the work that I don't have, and also going back to work, how everyone is. You okay? You okay? Can I get you something? Can I get you lunch? The Royal Opera House time, the time I actually collapsed and the time that I stopped walking, I just remembered were two different events. And the reason why is because the time I collapsed and I stopped breathing, I banged my head and I went to hospital. That was one time. The next day, because of the way that it is and the way that it works, I don't like skipping work for a long period of time, because when I come back, everyone treats me very weirdly. So I'm just like, I can't do the sitting around thing. So I came into work the next day. Instantly, everyone, are you okay? Watching me. Are you okay? Sending me stuff. Are you okay? We were watching stuff. I then was like, okay, I just need to sit down because this is a lot. And while I was sitting down in the break room, everyone was just kind of staring and watching and seeing if I was okay. And it went off. And because that time it went off, I was like, send me to hospital now. Like it was that bad that I was coercive enough to be like, ring them, it's happening, it's too much, it's happening, just ring them. And I was sitting upstairs and they were like, are you sure? And I was like, this was the day after. It was the day after, immediately after, because it was just too much stress. Everyone, it was almost like, oh my God. It's almost like high school where something happened and you came in and everyone was talking about you. It was that. And I couldn't just focus, because I was a manager, I was a supervisor of the bar, and every single person was just like, oh my God, like yesterday, Michael, I just thought you was gonna die. I'm so sorry. Reliving it. You had girls come up to me and crying and be like, I thought you was having a heart attack and everything. And I was like, I don't need this right now. Yeah. And I didn't, because it sent me straight back into hospital. And then that time when I had my episode, I had my episode in the waiting area. So as I said, I could feel it coming on. I said, just send me to hospital now, guys. They sent me to hospital. I was feeling it in the cab, feeling it on the way there, going to the waiting area, said to them what the situation was. They were like, oh, you know, it was timed very well as well, because she was like, when this area was like, this is what's happened. He's come from work, da, da, da. They're like, okay, we have a waiting list. That's fine. I'm waiting there. During these 2 hours of waiting, my body can't take it anymore, and I just drop and I start convulsing on the floor, and they're like, right, we've got a room for you, so they took me straight in. And then that was the time where I couldn't walk for a few hours. But yeah, it was
it's that balance, isn't it, Michael? Because
it's a lot.
You've got two types of reactions. There's probably more, but you've got the passengers walking, the ones that are going towards the play, walking over you. Yeah. Not saying everyone did it.
Yeah.
But what is it? Is it bystander?
Yeah.
Whatever that's called, theory. So you've got people like, some might want to help, but actually I need to catch this flight.
I don't know this kid, I got a flight.
Yeah. And then you've got the people that know you a little bit more and they care about you. But then you might feel like it's suffocating you.
It can, because I think it is that thing of just understand. I think it's with everything, because I have godchildren, wonderful godchildren.
Yes.
And I think the more that I'm kind of around children or around people, is the more you realize that your love comes with not expectations, but it comes with promises that you've made for them that they never asked for. And that's the ending of the sentence that you have to always remember. They never asked for. It doesn't matter if they're good intentions. It doesn't matter what they are. They never asked for them. So imposing those things because you're saying that you're helping the person, how do you know you're helping someone if you haven't even asked them if they need it? And I find that in my life one of the hardest things with friends, because I know a lot of people, but there's not a lot of people who are able to help me, because not a lot of people sit there and go, what do you need? They always go, oh, it's Michael, you probably need this, and they give it to me. And I'm like, thank you. I'm never going to say no thank you, because it's polite to say thank you because you gave me a gift, but do you want some notes? I haven't used anything you've given me in the last 5 years. You haven't asked me. You don't know me. We don't have a relationship. And I think that it's the same thing with this. When you're looking after someone, you can make promises of being like, I'll make sure Michael never convulses, or I'll make sure he never does that and that and that. I'm not asking for someone else to come up with a cohesive plan to stop this. What I'm asking is for you to stand by me while I do this. What I'm asking for you to do is, there's days that I feel that I'm super weak because it's happening, to remind me that I'm strong, to remind me that I'm loved, to remind me that this isn't the only thing. And also to remind me, I think more than anything, is this isn't the worst thing in the world this isn't your worst feature, Michael. I think that's the thing that sometimes I need to be reminded of, is because, as I was saying about the mental health and the relationship thing, is it's one of the first things I think of when I start dating someone. It's one of the first things I think of. Is like, I don't ever want you to see me like that, because if you do, I haven't really had a positive version of this working out. So I don't know what I'm comparing it to.
Would you inform someone you're dating straight away, or would you just, like a job,
Not straight away.
would you...
Do you know what?
My name's Michael.
Never done it. Never done it straight
or
away.
Would you now adopt the idea of, if it happens, then I will inform
Yeah,
them?
I think I've always done it as if it happens. The straight away thing, I'm not gonna lie, it's because this is the second time I've done something in an interview on it. I kind of would more appreciate it to be out there, for it to be something that you know of me coming in, because me having to introduce it, especially not knowing where you are within your feelings towards me, it could go two different ways. It could, and I find sometimes with, as you said, the suffocating way is not as bad as the I don't care way. They're just as bad as each other. Because sometimes the I don't care is, okay, judgment, you hate me, that's fine. And then the suffocating is, I'm not allowed to think. But I think both sides, you've robbed me from being in any sort of control. And I think that sometimes is hard, because when you know that you've got something which is a mental disorder or any sort of disorder or anything like that, you almost feel like you don't get to make the choices of who you love. You throw it out there, and whoever picks you up gets to be. You don't get to go, oh no, well, you're not actually my type. You're the FND kid who keeps on convulsing. You should be happy you get in love. Like, about what do you mean? It's not a type. No one else has got time for you to be convulsing. Do you know what I mean? And it does feel like that. It's like, I say it's but it does sometimes feel like that. That's why I'm always scared to bring it up, because it does feel like you're like, hi, I hope you like me. I sometimes convulse, but you know, hopefully you'll find that cute one day. Like,
You're not serious.
It does.
Oh,
so
dear.
yeah, it is just sometimes reminding you that it's not the end of the world. And also just like, everyone's got baggage. Like, everyone doesn't have baggage that makes them fall asleep. Everyone has got baggage. Everyone's got different things. And I think, again, normalizing that, especially I will say in the Black community, and again, my Christian background, so in the church as well, being open about that, and just being open about saying
And not
things are
being
going
told
wrong.
it's a demon.
Everything's not a demon, guys. No, but I will say it is about understanding that. And I think, again, we really, really, in the Black community and the church community, really need to re-look at the word weak, because what we associate with weak isn't weak. And I think sometimes we're so scared of appearing weak that we overcompensate, and it's just not necessary. I am a guy who, you know, has ADHD, has FND, and I'm navigating myself through my life. But you know what? It's never really stopped me from being able to achieve the things that I've wanted to achieve. I've never not been in a top position or a top place because of it. And it really does, because they're both psychological, I think it really does. It's a little bit harder, because I guess sometimes I think it'd be easier if there was something physically wrong with me, because then everyone would almost be like, oh, okay, I get it. Whereas because it's invisible, it's almost like when you're saying I need help, people don't believe you because they're only taking in what they see. So you're like, no, I don't understand this. He's taking the mic. I don't understand it. You've said something and I don't understand it. Like, how could you possibly not I know this makes sense to you. I know it makes sense to this person, this person, this person. It doesn't make sense to me. And believe me, I am not trying to make a joke. I don't get it. And like, I'm telling you, not 70% of the time, that's a big number. I would say at least 40% of the time, there's a lot of things that go on around me and I don't understand, and I'll ask questions and everyone thinks that I'm joking. And I'm like, I literally don't get it, because it might just be a cultural thing. Not saying that I grew up any differently, but it just might be a cultural thing of the type of people that they are around all the time. This makes sense. And the type of people I'm always around, you'd expect me to know that. And I don't do that. So I don't get it. And that could even be with, one thing that it is sometimes is with talking, communication. If I don't understand something, I'll ask questions. So for certain people, they'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. This person doesn't want to talk about it. And I go, no, I get that. But also, how does that help anyone in this room? So I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to ask you a question. And then some people, just leave me alone. Okay, I would get this if we're all 7 years old, but we're all big men. It's 32. So you're going to have to explain something so everyone else gets it, because you just being silent and not doing it, that doesn't make sense to me. And then I will then be seen as someone different. But I'm just like, I don't get how we're supposed to progress if everyone's trying to do the whole kind of, I'm not talking, or I don't have any emotions. It doesn't make sense for me. So I'm going to talk. So yeah.
You're brilliant, Michael. Thank you so much. I mean, Junior's interview, I don't know. I need to edit that. It might be 2 parts, it might be 3. Your one's definitely going to be 3 parts. No, you've been brilliant.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad remembering stuff. It's just like, it's true, you know. But it is that thing of, when you said the mental health, that was probably the best question, because I was thinking about it and thinking, it's what I've learned of my walk with God. And I think it's so important that it's so funny that we say walk. Walk isn't a destination, it's a journey. You didn't say where I'm going to with God. You say walk, because where you're going to is heaven. Obviously that destination has been done, but it's the walk. We value the walk. With a lot of things, there are answers that are yes or no. Some things, the answer is the journey. For instance, does marriage work? I can't answer that. You can only answer that through your journey. Your marriage is working, so that's the answer. But the answer isn't yes. The answer is your marriage, the journey, every step. Because yes is too encompassing. Yes, okay, but how? Yes. No, that doesn't give me anything. Like, does marriage work? Yes. So I'll just go and do it, and then it will magically work. You've given me nothing. Whereas it's a journey, and I've learned that a lot of times in my life, there are some unanswered questions, and I go, the answer is the journey, Michael. It's not you're waiting for someone to come out the sky and be like, it's gonna be okay. It's like, no, you're gonna have to figure it out. And I think living with this and living with a lot of things, it's like, this isn't, yeah, it can work out, or no, it's not gonna work out, or if it's, you gotta find your way, because whatever answer you're trying to give it to everyone else, and that's never gonna work, because you are not like everyone else, and that person's not gonna be like everyone else. So the people that's like you might be able to open a door for them, but you trying to find this one answer to be able to get.
Wow.
And even, you know, sometimes in church where people ask and they give you that one answer, and I'm like, I don't even think you don't have the one answer, and that's fine. Just say that, because clearly I asked this question, meaning God is opening up the journey for me to go and find the answer. If you don't have an answer, don't try and just cut it off. Don't just, you know what I mean? Just don't just.
Maybe, you know, sometimes it's the way people have been brought up culturally as well. You know, Caribbean background or African background, it's more so the children were seen, but you're not speaking. Do you know what I mean? So where we've got like generations coming up, and I remember you when you were very mature for your age. I would have been one of
Blame the therapist. Blame the therapist.
No, very mature, just like he's been here before. And so you would always ask questions, but how do we learn if we don't ask questions?
It's true, and I can't even lie, it was those things of, like, I know jokingly it's like, Michael, question boy, and it's not saying you, but like, I'm sure other people were just like, oh my God, this kid and his questions. But it's funny how I had to go through a journey of understanding how important that was, because I did feel like it was presented to me negatively, so I did feel it was negative. Even at work, like we do some workplaces, there'll be you know, notes in the beginning, and I know for a fact, and it's just the way that I am, I know for a fact everyone's not listening. I know for a fact everyone's not listening, and in my head, it's the ADHD thing. I'm so
sorry, I just turned, but I wasn't.
Oh no, it's right. No, it's right. It's the ADHD thing for me, is where I go, right, so I'm overthinking everything. So you're not listening. That means that if you're not listening, you're going to be one of those people that probably got this job, less qualifications than I did, but you're here because, you know, privilege. So you're here. You're not even listening to this bit. I'm listening. You're then going to ask me or someone else what to do in about 20 minutes, messing up my flow. Scrap all of that. I'm going to say to the person talking to repeat it again. So I do. And then usually everyone just goes, oh, Michael's always got a question. Michael's always got something to say. Michael, da 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 da. And before I used to think that was so negative. And I was like, oh, everyone just thinks that it's annoying. I'm annoying. Now I kind of claim it, because the amount of times, and nearly every time, someone has always said, yeah, I'm really glad you actually asked them to repeat it because I didn't listen. And I'm like, yeah. And there's other people that won't say it to me, but I know they won't listen. Because you two were having a chat that whole time, and I know for a fact you're going to be like, Michael's cool. Can you just do this for me? No, I can't.
Michael, would you ever think about interviewing me?
Yes. Yes, I would. And it'd be lovely because I have so many questions for you, especially.
Oh my God.
I do.
Listen,
you're a whole mother. You're a mother, you're a wife, you're Christian, you're Caribbean, you're a black woman. There's so many things that I know. It's more of, I'd ask you because there's so many parts of your life that I can't automatically relate to. I'd have to know you. I can't just go, oh yeah, someone's like this because of this. No, you can't assume that. Like, what? You're not a woman. You're not black. You're not someone's wife, and you're not a mother. So like, you can assume from an outside point of view, but like, unless she told you these are my thought processes, you can't just go ahead and be like, hey, of course she was thinking this, and that's why she does this. That's why she uses this colors and stuff. And all of the women, like Erica, Yasmin, all your friends and stuff like that, you're all very different, but you're unique, but you're all very similar because there's that running thread that kind of keeps you as friends. So it's all different. It's all very different. I couldn't base my answers on what you would do in a situation off Erica. You two are different people. So it'd be really interesting to kind of pick that brain because you're an individual.
Oh my gosh, Michael. And listen, when you do go to the GP and when they do say,
and I go,
can we like bring you back?
We should, yeah. And then I'll talk about that.
About ADHD.
I'll be like, first 2 days of ADHD, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
But as you say, do you know what? I know some people don't like labels, but sometimes labels can be helpful.
As saying, I was liberated, and it's weird because I was watching a video today and it was about a guy saying the same thing where he was saying he's picking up his meds and he was saying he's open about his meds of ADHD, and I'm not prepared for that bit yet. I don't know what I'm going to do with the med situation, but I just found it liberating to know because now I can understand my thought process and understand if I'm getting something, I'll be like, right, I know I've got ADHD, so I know that my process is going to be all over the place. So now I have to think and know my process. Friends, I say to them, if you ask me to do something, tell me a diary date, then ask me to print screen it from my diary, and then I'll be there. If I don't do that, scatterbrain, it's gone. In about 5 seconds after we've had this conversation, something else came up and I completely forgot what I was supposed to do. So just make sure you see evidence of me writing in my diary. And they say, those things I've learned about myself because I'm not going to, before it'd be like, I deny it because of the ADHD thing. But this video, it was this African guy, and he was saying that when he was growing up, his parents in the school, they said it to his parents and his parents absolutely denied it. Nothing to do with it. And it got worse for him at school, and they kept on just beating him and saying, why are you acting up in school? And he was like, I'm struggling. And no one, so he said one of the teachers in his, I think high school, because this is for a primary school, not there, but in high school, they got in a TA and got him to help him out and stuff. And then later on in his life, he got diagnosed, but that they were just determined to help him. And it is what you're saying about that thing of people want to run away from labels, people are scared to do this and that. And I think for parents a lot of the time, because even my sister is diagnosed, she's recently diagnosed, and that kind of made me get the test. It took my mum a while to not, because I think my mum and dad, their instant thing is we failed. We failed. We're the reasons why. And it's like, it's not. Because if you even look at it, it's something. My mum was even talking to me and saying that me and my sister both feel like my mum has it, but she was saying that my dad, she definitely does.
Do you want me to hear this?
No, you can. But my dad, my mum was saying that my granddad, she was discussing with him and saying he has it, and it was
I think there's a lot of people that are undiagnosed, but we've just managed to. I say we, like I'm owning it, but people have just managed to just. Because
that's the other thing as you know, it's a spectrum. So I think that's the other thing that people instantly, like you say, I've got ADHD, and they go, oh, so you can't speak, or you're this and that. You're like,
you're just hyper.
No, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, no. Even when people say, oh, I've got other, mental disorders or anything like that, it's the degrees and it's where it is. And I think that's again where people are scared to have that conversation or have that, because it just feels like it's damning, or it's saying that you're going to be less than. And for me, even things like autism, it's like, I always saw autism as, because I was a comic book guy, I always saw it as superpowers. Like, I never saw it as a disability. I always saw it as superpowers. I was like, okay, they might not be able to speak, or they might not be able to do this and that, but have you seen them with maths? Have you seen them with this? Have you seen them with that? Like, that's more than anyone else. So, like, that's extreme. Oh, that's my God. Yeah, that's extreme.
Listen, Michael, I'm sure we could talk.
We could.
I was going to say midnight, but
Okay.
I reckon I'm going to sleep like this, and you'll be talking till 5. But you are really interesting.
Thank you.
I've got to say, and you we're talking about I was going to say sign language. What's it called? Star signs earlier.
Yes, yeah.
And as Christians, we're not believing in it, but
The
what we
horoscope thing,
did say,
the
there
traits.
are traits.
The traits.
And
Yeah.
the main character energy, like, call it the Michael.
If you haven't
Dental.
guessed, I'm a Leo.
Cut my hair, guys. Do you know what I
Anyone
mean?
who knows character traits, they'll just be like, yeah, it's kind of obvious this guy's a Leo. Yeah.
Walks into a room and just like, oh, Michael's here. He's like a celebrity, like literally. But Michael, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And
you.
I don't know what else to say because I think I need to go over everything and just process it all myself. Oh my God. Honestly, one
Thank
thing
you for
I will
having me,
say,
seriously.
and I'm not trying to sort of like minimize this or like be disrespectful in any way, but the is it the acronym? Is it FND?
FND, yeah.
Does it not sound like swearing?
It does. It does.
When you were saying it first, I was like,
Yeah, it does. It does. Because
Doesn't it?
I've said it before. I'll be like F&D, and I was like that.
FND,
Yeah, it just sounds like it's the FN.
Yeah.
It's the FN bit. It's like,
But
it's not
like,
okay.
to keep it like above board, it's what really stood out to me during the interview is like the inconvenience of it. You don't know the timing; it could happen at any time.
That is the hard bit to
And
live with, yeah.
wow,
Because you're in a great space, and
Yeah.
you're just kind of getting things together,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
it
yeah.
happens, and you're just like, now I'm just waiting for it to happen again.
Yeah.
And you almost, and I think that's the weird space, you almost want it to happen again because you're just like, let's just get it over and done
Okay.
with. But because it doesn't happen, you're almost left in the limbo of like, I should just leave this as the episode happened, let me get back on with my life. But you can't. Because
Yeah.
all you're thinking about is,
And is there a pattern? Could it happen? Could it happen every few months, or just whenever your body's at high anxiety?
High anxiety.
Okay.
There was a time where I remember uni, during exam season, it happened like 12
God.
times.
Oh, not
12
exams.
times. Like during exam season and all that time, 12 times. It just kept on happening. And then it didn't happen for the whole year.
So what's the biggest time gap?
Lockdown. Lockdown, yeah. It was because
Wow.
because Lisbon was 2021 or 22? No, last year, 22. And I had one just before 2019.
Okay.
So it was literally during lockdown, I just remembered. It was just like 2020. I was like, and that's the other thing. Every year I do go, how many times? Okay, cool. Okay, no, 0 this year. And then go to 0 this year. And then it's almost that like thing that you always see where it's like days until the last accident and they reset it to 0 every time. And in my head, every year I'd go by and be like, haven't had it this year. So I haven't had it this year. I haven't had it this year at all, which I'm very, kind of praise God.
Thank God.
But yeah, it is that thing of, and Alex is very, he always checks that because he was always be like, how many, when's the last time you had it? Always. Or I'm like, yeah, this. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned about journeys,
yeah.
I've started this platform to raise awareness, and to be honest, I didn't even know about this condition until I texted you last
Yeah.
week because he met my cousin last Monday, and then on Wednesday he's on my cousin's podcast. And Mark, if you're watching this,
Shout out Mark, you are the
shout
best.
out Mark. But if you're having guests on the podcast, I've only known you my whole life. It's okay.
I don't know if you're ready for that podcast.
I don't think I am ready. I've watched quite a lot of those. But anyway,
love
listen, guys. Thank you once again, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
But
Thank you.
remember, it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. But we're in this together. Take care.
Amen.
God bless.
Bye. I love that. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, but we're in this together. That's beautiful. That's wicked. I love that. Why have I never heard what? I've heard it at the end of the last video, but that is amazing.
You're not still talking.
That is beautiful. I'm still talking.
Let me take the mic. I will leave you here.